The Senior Bowl is one of those events that always sparks excitement. For the Miami Dolphins, it's been an annual tradition to draft at least one participant from this showcase of collegiate talent. 21 years of consistency in this regard is no small feat, but when you start peeling back the layers, you can't ignore the glaring truth. The Dolphins' history with these picks has been frustrating, underwhelming, and, frankly, hard to defend. Since 2003, the Dolphins have taken 44 players who participated in the Senior Bowl. Think about that, 44 chances to grab a standout player, someone who could turn the tides, make an impact, leave their mark. Yet, out of all those picks, not a single Pro Bowl appearance. None. Zero. That's not just disappointing, it's downright maddening. How does this happen? How can an organization repeatedly miss the mark when the talent is right there for the taking? Some of these picks weren't total disasters. Jared Odrick, taken in the first round back in 2010, had his moments. He was a steady presence on the defensive line, but never the kind of player who could change the complexion of a game. Jawan James, a first-rounder in 2014, was another solid pick, at least on paper. He held down the right tackle spot for a few years, but dealt with injuries and inconsistency before leaving in free agency. Then there's Mike Gesicki, a second-rounder from 2018. He provided flashes of brilliance, especially as a red zone threat, but his overall contributions never reached the level you'd expect from a truly impactful draft selection. None of these players were bad, but none of them were stars either. When you think about the opportunity that comes with drafting a Senior Bowl participant, the upside should be immense. The game features some of the best college players in the country, players who are NFL ready, or at least close to it. Year after year, the Senior Bowl produces standouts who go on to be All-Pros and Hall of Famers. Richard Sherman, Aaron Donald, Deebo Samuel. The list is endless. Yet, somehow, the Dolphins have consistently missed out on these gems. Looking at the full list of Dolphins Senior Bowl picks over the past 21 years, it's hard not to feel a sense of exasperation. There have been far too many misses, especially in the early rounds. Players like Pat White, the second-round pick in 2009, come to mind. White was supposed to be a dynamic, dual-threat quarterback who could bring something new to the offense. Instead, he was out of the league in a flash. Chad Henne, another second-round quarterback taken in 2008, was serviceable at best, but never came close to being the franchise QB the team hoped for. Then there's Jamar Taylor, a second-round cornerback in 2013 who couldn't live up to his billing, and Michael Ignew, a third-round tight end in 2012 who never looked like he belonged in the league. Even more recent picks haven't changed the narrative. Since drafting Gesicki in 2018, the Dolphins have taken a string of Senior Bowl participants who have yet to prove themselves. Michael Dieter, a third-rounder in 2019, was supposed to stabilize the offensive line but never developed into more than a backup-caliber player. Hunter Long, drafted in the third round in 2021, barely made an impact before the team moved on. Channing Tindall, a third-round linebacker from the 2022 draft, has seen limited action and remains a question mark. The same can be said for Elijah Higgins, Jason Strobridge, and even Patrick Paul, the most recent Senior Bowl pick from 2024. Paul showed promise as a rookie, but we've been down this road before. Flashes of potential don't always turn into sustained production. It's not as if the Dolphins are alone in making draft mistakes. Every team has its fair share of misses. But when you look at Miami's track record with Senior Bowl players, the trend is impossible to ignore. Other teams are finding Pro Bowlers and foundational pieces from this pool of talent, while the Dolphins are coming away with long snappers and special teams contributors. Blake Ferguson, for instance, has been solid as a sixth-round pick in 2020, but let's be honest, drafting a reliable long snapper isn't exactly moving the needle. What makes this even more frustrating is the fact that the Senior Bowl consistently produces high-quality players. Year after year, players from this game go on to be significant contributors in the NFL. The problem isn't the talent available, the problem is Miami's inability to identify and develop it. How many times can you swing and miss before you start questioning the process? Is it the scouting? The coaching? The lack of a clear organizational identity? Whatever it is, it's holding this team back. The trend isn't just limited to late-round picks or fringe players. Miami has missed on Senior Bowl players at every level of the draft. Second-rounders like Matt Roth in 2005, Pat White in 2009, and Jamar Taylor in 2013 were all high-investment picks that failed to deliver. Third-rounders like Leonte Carroo, Michael Agnew, and Will Davis have added to the pile of disappointment. Even in the later rounds, where the expectations are lower, the Dolphins have struggled to find contributors. Elijah Higgins, a sixth-round pick in 2023, didn't even stick with the team long enough to make an impression.